I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook babies.
So, I'm thinking about reaching out to Hooters,
Okay.
so we can get some money from them because I am drinking
Yeah.
their dark rum, which is quite terrific.
Is that the same bottle or you just keep buying that?
I just keep buying it.
Why? Is it good?
Not really. It's but it is cheap. It's like $8 for
Yeah.
a bottle. So,
All right. Wait. Can you show up to the camera? I want to see it because I've never seen. We're a little classier over here.
yeah.
Hooters. Just this is like, is it black rum? Is that what it says?
This is dark rum.
Oh, dark rum.
Yeah.
All right. That's doing it for you, huh?
Yeah, I guess the job done.
I used to drink a lot of rum. I don't as much anymore.
No.
But dark rum, you gotta be careful with that. That should give you a gnarly hangover.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'll be careful, Ben.
All right, thank you. You be careful out there.
Oh man, I heard that rum's up to no good these days.
Let's. Well, we didn't see each other last week, so I had some separation anxiety.
Oh.
How are you?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing all right, homeboy.
You're working hard or hardly working?
Oh. Yeah, no, I was working. I had a bunch of articles, and I had some events I had to work at. We held a goth night.
Clickbait bullshit.
Yes, actually.
I demean your career. I'm just
honestly,
kidding.
yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It totally is.
All right. Well, we'll cut
but-
that so you don't get fired. But
No, it's fine. They don't know which company I work right for. But yeah, so I had to write a bunch of clickbait, and then I had to work for. I had to work at a few events last week. So we had a goth night, and it was actually pretty cool. It was cool. It was kind of it was called Leviathan, and it was a sort of aquatic themed goth night. So it was kind of cool. So somebody who works for the organization, I think they're like the board of directors. They work for a group called, I think, Recycled Movie Sets, and so I guess they get leftover sets from movies and plays and musicals and stuff. Yeah. So we often hit them up like, hey, we're doing this themed event. Can we use some set decoration? So for this one, we got like these like big like ancient columns. And it's funny because like they're all very light, like they're all like styrofoam and plaster. But we got like this big like rocky throne, and we got like these sort of like ancient like Greek columns, and we got like a big statue face. So it looked like this sort of like dark Atlantis themed thing. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
But what was it? Like I don't.
So it was so we had a bunch of vendors, and then we had 2 bars set up, and then we had like a kink show going on, and then we had 2 live painters. And then we had like a dance party with the DJ and a go-go dancer.
What happened at the kink show?
Just people getting spanked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And
pretty cool.
Was it like a pride thing?
No, actually it wasn't actually.
Wow, really?
But
really missed out on that one.
I know, yeah, we could have gotten some SEO buzzwords, keywords from that one, but yeah, it was cool. Went pretty late to like 3:30 in the morning, so I was pretty.
Oh, it's way too late. You need your sleep.
I know. So I was wiped the whole weekend. Yeah, it was cool. And then so like the guy who organized it, he got stock footage, like extreme close-ups of like squid and all these underwater creatures, and he had like the mirror effect, so you saw the tentacles like going in and out of each other. So it looked like you knew it was something that was real, but it had like sort of abstract elements. So we had big projections of the sort of monstrous sea creature stuff all over the walls and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Were there any girl with the dragon tattoo body doubles?
Oh, a whole bunch. Like half the girls were all just just decked out like that, man.
Yeah. I'm a taken man now, but you've gotten me in my early 20s. That would have been my scene.
No, I'm not into that. This is
more for me.
No. Yeah, if you feel like cheating, come to LA, man. I'll set you up.
No, never. Back in the day, of course, I'm talking about. I had a thing for Elizabeth Salander.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Now you got a thing for Elizabeth Holmes.
Elizabeth is that the bad blood girl lady? She's
No.
crazier than wait, who?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Yeah. She's a Theranos. Yeah.
Yeah, the Theranos lady.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
a nutcase.
Yeah, I know. She's nuts.
Yeah, I kind of respect it though. I love a good fraudster.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait,
high
what
tech
was?
shyster. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just listening to. Apparently, there's an account. I haven't followed it. It's like Sigmund Fraud or something, or Fraudian Slip. That's it, Fraudian Slip. It's all like Sigmund Fraudian Slip. It's all about fraudsters, and there's a new one that's great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of them, especially anytime it's like. Well, I love the racial ones. Those are my favorites. Theranos was a good one.
Yeah.
A good one was like Miss Cleo back in the day.
Oh right, the psychic chick, right? Yeah,
a great one. A lot of of course, all of the televangelists.
Yeah,
it's all classic.
Who was that guy who made a career out of like debunking those guys? Was it Randy something? Like throughout the 80s and 90s, like his whole thing was debunking like the televangelists who would like heal people.
Yeah. Dude,
and so
it's so depressing now.
I know.
Looking back, I mean, I do love them for culturally. I think they're as American as apple pie. But like, I remember watching those as a kid in my basement, just like late at night.
Yeah.
You're all like I just can't sleep. It's all like hormones and just like bad sleep pattern and all that. Just watching these televangelists and these, just like dirt poor people.
Yeah.
And they're convulsing and jiving and shaking and jiving and then they're like, I bought the little green cloth and then I got a check for $500 in the mail, and it's like it's just like your tax return. Like it's not God. And I don't know. They like even back then I was like, oh, I mean, if ever I get in trouble, I'll just order the holy water.
right, exactly.
I'm good. Awesome.
Oh man, I think it was Peter Popoff and his stupid wife. But I know there are a few of them.
Peter Popoff was definitely one. Yeah,
he's definitely.
He had like that black hair, right?
Yeah.
He was one I would watch.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the main ones I feel like I would watch.
I can't remember if it was him or somebody else. Like one of these other, just shyster types. But in the 80s, this Randy guy, he infiltrated one of their gatherings or congregations or whatever.
Yeah.
And he got like this special electronic equipment that can pick up like walkie-talkie sounds. And so what it was the guy's wife, she's coordinating with people backstage and saying, hey, but she's using racial slurs, like she's using the N-word and stuff. She goes, hey, you get that, N-word, second row, third seat to the left, like, and so call him up to this. It was so bad, like at every level, every way. It was so bad, it's horrible, man.
Yeah.
And then then like their business went bankrupt. I know, but then like their business was shut down for a while because of all the controversy, and then it came back like 10 years later, just basically just doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, they always do.
I know.
It's like Billy McFarland too, who I think I've talked about on the show, who I grew up with. He was the Firefest kid.
Right. Yeah.
And I think he's back with some new scam, like something else out there. He had the fake bullshit credit card, Firefest, and I think it's just a drug. Like they just have to be, they'll always be scamming. They just got to do it. Yeah, it's very, very funny. Billy. He's a nice kid, but lost his way somewhere. Find God, Billy. All right, so we're gonna talk about Marvel. Yay.
Yeah.
It's if anyone has the archivist of TRM will see that I have soured over the course of our show.
It's funny. I'm starting to sour on Marvel now too.
Are you?
I've been souring for like the last year.
Okay, not good as in like good, join the dark side, but good as I think you offer a different perspective, because I think you were always more pro Marvel than I was. I was always pretty indifferent. Yeah. And now I find it annoying and grating.
Me too now. And I'm not happy about it. Like, but I, as someone who used to read a lot of comics, I read comics sometimes, but not as much. But where it's like, I want, I know this is kind of a controversial statement, but I like it when movies are good, and when movies are not good, I get annoyed.
Whoa, but Joe,
I know.
What's the identity of the compilation of the cast?
Right, exactly.
That's what's more important here than
right. But they've just become, besides the fact that recent movies and TV shows have not been very good, they become more explicitly woke. From the filmmakers just talking about the need for like we're gonna race swap because that's good, we need diversity, and then just like the stories just not being as good, and just kind of like
wait, hold on, before we go on from that, how's African Queen doing?
Oh, we should do an update.
I'm doing it right now. Oh wait, no, that's not it. African Queen's a movie from the 50s. What am I thinking of? Cleopatra. No, Cleopatra.
African Queens, Cleopatra.
African Queens. Oh, it's about to be like shit. I just am in so much trouble for being racist. Let me
see if there's any
African Queens. Wait, it's an 88. I thought I had like a 1%. Njinga. Oh, it's a 14% from the audience. Is this it though? No, this isn't it. It's about Queen Njinga of Angola. What the fuck? Jesus. All right, hold on. Cleopatra, African Queen show. The show, right?
Yeah. I'm not seeing any updates on that.
We're supposed to, we have to update on this.
I know.
People need to know. Queen Cleopatra, is that it?
I think that's it.
Oh boy. Oh God. It's it's at a 20% tomato meter with only 15 reviews. So people aren't bothering to see it, but still, guess what the audience is?
2%?
3%.
Oh, wow.
That's brutal.
Yeah. That's one of the worst reviews. That's got to make it one of the worst reviewed shows ever.
Yeah, that's got to be really bad. Oof. All right. Well, that's the African Queen Cleopatra update. I think it's gonna stay there for a while. I don't think it's gonna be moving much.
Yeah.
All right. So MCU. So there's an article that's pretty good.
Yeah.
In New Yorker, it's called "How the Marvel Cinematic Universe Swallowed Hollywood." This is by Michael Schulman. This came out earlier this month. We were going to talk about it 2 episodes ago, but we had a bunch of things to do.
Yeah.
And this one's pretty long.
Yeah.
Not that we necessarily have to do all of it, but talk about just kind of what exactly the title says. Like, Marvel and how its effect on Hollywood in general. And I think also, obviously, from us, like the fan perspective, you might have some more insider knowledge, like in the industry. But from the fan perspective, just the casual, I don't say casual moviegoer, but cinephiles or whatever, because you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
You can't avoid Marvel at this point.
Right.
So
and it's funny because it's not just the movies and the shows that have become so pervasive. It's the model that Marvel pioneered that's being replicated.
Unfortunately,
I know.
Yes, by the DCU.
Yeah.
And even, they bring up Everything Everywhere All at Once. We'll get into that. I actually really like that movie. But it's the same kind of script,
right.
In terms of the kind of tone, I guess. But we'll talk more about that. So basically, we don't need to talk about how big Marvel is. It's the biggest thing ever. And so I want to start with the sentence. In the 70s, Jaws and Star Wars gave Hollywood a new model for making money, the endlessly promoted summer blockbuster. The MCU multiplied the formula so that each blockbuster begets another. David Crow, a senior editor for the website Den of Geek, calls it a roadmap for a product that never ends. Like a lot of IP now, which that's like one of the cornerstones. It is not even cornerstone, I'd say foundation of this whole model. It's not about like one character. It's not about the actors even. It's about the IP and the all-consuming nature of the MCU, which a couple other, like you said, I guess IPs are replicating, which is like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the DCU, where everything is interconnected. And if there's not a movie coming out, there's a new show about to stream. And then when that show's over, there's a new movie coming out, and so on ad infinitum.
Yeah, and we're seeing it in we've seen bits and pieces of this happen with like say like the Fast and Furious movies, because remember there's like that spin-off with The Rock and Jason Statham.
So,
We're seeing it now
lots
with
of
we're gonna see like a big sort of was it Hasbro cinematic universe coming up now.
what's in that?
Or maybe it's Mattel. Like the big toy company. So we had the Transformer movies, and at the end of the most recent one, I don't know if I'm spoiler alert, but it's been out for a while. At the end, they tease GI Joe. So now we're gonna have GI Joe and Transformers colliding.
Okay.
Yeah. So it seems like everyone's doing like the whole interconnected.
People clamoring for that mashup.
No, that's the thing. But I don't think anybody's really been demanding it, other than like hardcore fans. The unfortunate thing is that like these movies, regardless of how bad they are, they'll still be profitable.
Yeah, right. I think that, yes, these are always going. Even the bad ones, I think, are still like wildly profitable, right?
Yeah. Like I saw Godzilla versus King Kong or whatever. I did not like it, and the movie got bad reviews, but they're still making a sequel because enough people watched it just for the novelty. Yeah. I was like, okay, it's
I kind of like
dumb,
and I kind of like Godzilla versus Kong, but that's not even close to the MCU in terms of like that's every few years.
Yeah.
The MCU is like multiple times a year, right? Like
every few months,
every few months. So yeah, but that's just the nature of block. And I think some people like myself, Godzilla and Kong, I'm probably going to see anything that's Godzilla in it.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that's the same thing people have. Like I'm going to see anything with Captain America or with Black Panther or whatever it is.
Sure.
Good for them. Like that's good they made that. But the MCU is like we were saying, it's everything.
Yeah.
And and I understand how it hooks people because it never ends. Like there is no ending to it.
Right.
My biggest gripe with the MCU is that it did the exact opposite of Game of Thrones. Why I thought Game of Thrones was so amazing. Part of it was like when your favorite characters are in danger, they're in real danger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Like in the MCU, it's kind of just like, well, they'll just pick one from another universe.
They can do that now. What's funny is that like they're like comic book death has its own Wikipedia page. Because it's like it happens all the time in comics when like whenever a character dies, like a major character, like they bring him back a few years later. So
yeah, but in like do they like restart or is he like back? It's like, hey, never happened.
Sometimes it's often a few different things. It's either like, oh, like that was a clone of me that died. I was alive the whole time.
That shit. Yeah, I can't stand that shit. That's probably why I'm not a big comic book guy, because like when Ned Stark gets decapitated, at the end of season 1 or the end of the first book, I believe it's the end of the first book. It's like he's not coming back.
Yeah,
there's one character in the books that technically didn't die, and like and actually they have like one guy who can bring people back, and there's a very little of it, but it's not like a guarantee. And if they are coming back, sometimes they're like pure evil or something, or something like that. With MCU, it's like wasn't the whole gravitas of the snap, right? By the way, we're spoiling everything. The shit's been out. Like, if I know it, then you clearly don't give a shit about watching it. So like the snap, like that killed like half of the characters.
Yeah.
But didn't most of them just come back?
Yeah.
Not all of them though, right?
Right.
Did Iron Man come back?
He did, but then he died at the end. So they killed him off.
He came back and they killed him again? Yeah.
Oh, no. Iron Man was not one of the ones who was snapped away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. So to me, that's just, I find that so boring and lazy and uninteresting,
right? Because
like if there's no stakes in the game, like I think that's why people like horror movies. Yeah. They like slashers. Like even if you know the quote unquote script of a horror movie,
right?
Like, oh well, there has to be the what's the term I'm looking for? Like the chaste virgin who's going to survive,
right? Or, the final girl.
Yeah, the final girl. That's it. The final girl.
Yep.
The the slut is going to die. The fool is going to die. Basically Cabin in the Woods, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But still fun. Yeah. But like and there are twists to that. Like there are, and I think that and that's really fun. Like this just doesn't seem fun to me.
No.
And as a fan, like you were much more of a fan than I was.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? Like, is it losing? It's just like entertainment value.
So like the Thanos snap thing and then bringing everybody back, like that was straight from the comics. So like I knew like, okay, yeah, they're just following what happened in the comics. But I do have a bigger problem with the multiverse thing, where it's like there are an infinite number of Spider-Man. So if you kill off this Spider-Man, it's like, okay, well we'll just get Spider-Man from Earth 222, we'll bring him back or whatever. So I haven't really seen them do that yet, but I'm sure they will.
Well, weren't there 3 Spider-Men in one movie?
Yeah. That was done really well though. It was
done well.
They brought back what's his face, Andrew Garfield,
yeah,
Tobey Maguire. So
I liked how they did the meme. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
that was the point meme. Like, okay, again, I'm not just. And here's the thing, I'd never want to just like be a hater. Like I think I don't like to yuck people's yum.
Yeah.
Same thing with books. I'll say it again. It's like, okay, this gets people to theaters. Yeah, great. But
if Harry Potter gets people to read, it's like
exactly. But I'm going to counter myself. I'm going to give myself this own argument and counterpoint. But so that's like the main part. Like it gets people to the theaters. Awesome. Yeah. Maybe they'll see something else. Maybe they'll see a poster for something else they wouldn't see, or they'll really like an actor. Well, actually, I'm going to get into that now. So I'm going to do my counterpoint. And he talks about this in here. This isn't like my original thought, but it's that it's sucking up all of the actors and actresses and writers. And so I'm going to read a part of this so we get a little more into it. Let me just make sure I'm getting the same. Okay, so this is a little long, but I think this is worth reading. So detractors see the brand's something for everyone approach as nefarious. An executive at a rival studio who called the MCU the death of all cinema told me that the dominance of Marvel movies has served to accelerate the squeezing out of the mid-range movie. The studio's comedies had been struggling at the box office, and he groused, if people want a comedy, they're going to go see Thor or Ant-Man as their comedy now. So I'm going to read more than that. But I think that's one part of it is maybe my original knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, people will consume just more of everything if this opens the door. Well, then I think, but movies are fucking expensive. Yeah. And people like, it's not like getting a book or even an ebook for a few bucks or finding going to a library. Really, some people maybe go to the library to get DVDs but I don't think it's very common. Right. So like it is with books where people think library for books, not really DVDs, and are really hunting for DVDs there that they don't already know. So maybe it's like this actually having the opposite effect where people are thinking, well, even subconscious, like, well, I'll go to the movie a certain amount of times a year because I can only budget for that much or have that much time for entertainment compared to everything else you have to do in your social life, let alone work life and family life. All 4 of those times are going to be for Marvel movies.
Exactly. And you know, that's a good point because, it seemed like, not that long ago, it's like, okay, well, this movie that's coming out, it doesn't really look like my type of movie, but I like the director. I'll go see it because it's only $10. But now it's like it's $18, and so now it's kind of like, okay, and plus driving and finding parking, and then if I want to get a drink and snacks and
crazy like
and now it's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I want to see a movie that's going to entertain, that I know for sure is going to entertain me. Like I want explosions, I want funny lines, so it's like, okay, Marvel fits that bill really well 100%. For the most part.
It does. It's 100%. It's like you have a handful, and they talk about the directors in here. Yeah. And actually, I'm getting kind of confused. I listened to a movie podcast, or one of my usual movie podcasts I listen to, and they were talking about this also. It's like you have Marvel, you have DC, you have these like IP-driven movies, and then you have a handful of directors left that people go to see that director. Of course, we're talking about Tarantino. Yeah, sure. Anything Tarantino puts out, I'm going to go see. Yeah, it's rare. It's every few years, if that. Yeah, I mean, now it's going to be at least like 5 years since his last movie when this next one comes out, right? Probably about that.
I think so. Yeah.
And then there's like Scorsese. There's Cameron, right? A handful. Spielberg probably. Yeah. Who like, okay, those guys, they're in. Like people are just going to go see their movies.
Chris Nolan.
No, Christopher Nolan, David Fincher. But even still with those guys, like that's you and me who love movies. Right. I think the average, let's even say American moviegoer, I don't think Fincher moves the needle for them.
Right.
Like they probably don't know who that is. I think he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's right.
But I don't like. I think really once you get out of the Spielberg, Tarantino's name recognition, even though it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Scorsese, like there's a big drop off for the average American that we need those people to go see movies. Yeah. And you're right. I feel the same way. Like if you, I bring it up all the time. But if you watch Seinfeld, which I love to bring up because I think it's such a snapshot of the 90s, at least urban, 30-something, white 30-something 90s, but nevertheless,
right.
They're just always going to the movies.
Yes.
It's just like, what's playing at the movies? Where's going to the movies on a Saturday? Because that's what you did then. You didn't have Netflix. You didn't have all the streaming.
Right.
So people don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy where it's sort of like if you didn't have any plans and it's like, okay, maybe I'll go check out that new, Meryl Streep movie. It doesn't look great, but I like her and it's only going to be $6 to go see it. So even if it sucks, it's not a big thing. But nowadays it's like if I'm going to the movies, like, okay, look, I want it to be a good theater and I want it to, so it's just kind of becoming like a bigger trek now. It feels like I'm going to a concert more where it's sort of like, I'm only going to do it because I really like who's involved rather than I'm bored. I'm gonna go do something.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a default thing to do, and I think part of that's inevitable just because of the options now. And I get because look, I went to go see It 2, whenever that came out, right? 2019, maybe early, no, like 2019, I think, maybe early 2020, 2019, and like it wasn't a great theater, and a bunch of like teenagers just kind of like fucking ruined it.
Yeah,
so they're sitting in the back being obnoxious.
Yeah,
it's not my usual theater. My usual theater I go to, shout out Tilton Square. On Tilton
Village.
No. This is in the suburbs. In the Village, I went to a really cool one. That was in the East Village. That I saw After Sun there. That was actually the last movie I saw in the theater. Was After Sun. I needed time to kill. That I did. That was one of the situations, and it was also like Oscar nominated, right? If it wasn't, I probably wouldn't have gone. So the last movie I saw before that in theaters was like West Side Story. Again, Spielberg. I know it's going to be a spectacle, right? Exactly. It's a big thing. And I was with my theater loving fiance, so like it was like okay, win-win. But like it's just not like let's just go see. It used to be I'm going to the movies. Let's see what's playing. Now it's I'm only going to go if I know that it's a certain a handful of either probably honestly directors or actors, but not many. And that leads us back into this is that those actors are getting sucked into these movies where it's like, and I think I just saw the movie podcast I listened to, one of them listening to today posted, it's like now Tom Cruise is going to the DCU. He was like the last big action star.
Interesting.
I don't quote me on it, maybe check it, but they posted it. And it's like, man, like it's got another A-lister just gonna go be in a cape.
It's funny. Like up until like a couple of years ago, like when I was a much bigger fan of the MCU, like I thought it was really cool when they grabbed an A-lister, and not just an A-lister, but like sort of like Hollywood royalties. So for example, like Robert Redford showed up in a couple of Marvel movies, and he showed up in Avengers Endgame for like a minute. And it's like, holy shit, like you guys, like I thought that was special at the time because at the time Marvel was only doing 2 movies. I was like, holy shit, you guys are big enough now. You got enough prestige that you can get Robert Redford to show up in your movie for 30 seconds. Like that's pretty cool. But now it's sort of like, okay, every fucking A-lister has been in a Marvel movie. And so it just doesn't seem as interesting anymore. So
I'm glad you brought that. Here's a good example of it from the article. Entire generations now know Anthony Hopkins, not as Hannibal Lecter, but as Thor's dad, King Odin of Asgard. They put me in armor. They shoved a beard on me, he told me. Sit on the throne, shout a bit. If you're sitting in front of a green screen, it's pointless acting it. It's like, this is one of the most talented and prestigious actors in cinema. And I get it. It's like, okay, he's past his prime, so to speak. I mean, he won an Oscar a couple of years ago, but like fine, I guess. For that, it's probably like so his grandchildren can see him in something they want to see. But like,
it's so funny when I've seen interviews from actors who like bigger name actors who went on to do Marvel movies, and and they don't even seem that excited. It's just sort of like, God, I can't remember what movie it was, or sorry, which actor it was, but it was a pretty well known one, and again, kind of a more prestigious actor. And they're like, oh, so what brought you to Marvel? And they're like, oh, because I never even heard of this character, but my kids have heard about them, and so they've recommended
Yeah.
it. It's like that's why you got the movie, just for your kids. Like, just it's like
Yeah,
on the one hand it's
that is
sweet,
it.
but the other hand it's like
That sounds very
it wasn't.
familiar.
I can't remember who it was.
It's not. Oh, it's not The Rock, obviously.
No. But it didn't feel like it was an interesting part. Like it actually said it was surprisingly meaningful.
Man,
it was like I want to make my kids happy, so I did it. I think what the hell.
And but I get that, I do, but it's they make the point here. It's not like we're seeing. And here's the other argument I used to make. Maybe I could be proven wrong with this too. The other argument I used to make was, okay, Marvel will allow really good actors, excellent actors, get the bag, and then go make like passion projects, interesting shit, and that so they don't have to worry about money. Maybe they can even fund it if they want. But is that happening like at all? Because they list here, it's like they list a lot of the movies that Marvel actors have then gone to do, and they don't like what has Chris Evans done that's been like a success. I think some of his movies have been like really bad.
What about that one, the detective one, that Netflix detective one?
I think that one was the one where it's like Ghosted. Ghost, is that it? Ghosted?
No, it was Knives Out. He was in that one.
Knives Out. That's he was in that. That was, but that I wouldn't say that was like a Chris Evans movie.
Yeah,
there's like a small part of it. You're right though. Okay, so that was good, but like where he's really the lead,
right?
And he's the guy. Like I think they've been pretty crappy. Like what has Benjamin Cumberbatch done, or Benedict Cumberbatch? Like.
Yeah,
there's a few here. I'm not. Oh yeah, so here it is. The movies don't work. So this is. Let me just. So I'm not scatterbrained here. I'm gonna go back to this other part. So the result is a lot of hand wringing. So this is after the Hopkins line. The result is a lot of hand wringing over quote unquote the death of the movie star. In an IP-driven ecosystem, individual stars no longer attract audiences to theaters the way they used to. With a handful of exceptions, Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts. You go to a Marvel movie to see Captain America, not Chris Evans. It's actually surprising to me how almost none of them have careers outside of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Another agent said, the movies don't work. Look at all the ones Robert Downey Jr. has tried to do. Look at Tom Holland. It's been bomb after bomb after bomb. So, I mean, yeah, like the devil all the time.
Part, I think Robert Downey Jr. probably has had the most success because he did Tropic Thunder while he was Iron Man. He did 2 Sherlock Holmes movies that were successful, but even then, like those were
really early Marvel too. Where like Marvel was the upstart. It was the like interesting and new. Like Tropic Thunder was 2009. Iron Man was 2008, right?
Yeah.
It was right after. And you're right, sure, yeah, Sherlock. But I mean,
other than that,
then what did he do? He went and did like Dr. Dolittle.
He did that. He did you might have seen that one lawyer movie with Robert Duvall, I think.
The judge,
I think.
Yeah, I watch most lawyer movies, but I heard it's pretty bad.
I heard it was not very good. So I remember Robert Downey Jr. getting some flack around the time that he did that movie. he was talking about like the difference between doing promotional stuff for indie movies versus bigger budget movies, and he kind of criticized. I mean, like, I see where he's coming from, but it did come off a little entitled. He was like, yeah, I definitely love doing more character-driven, plot-driven, in like smaller independent films, but doing the promotional stuff for that is a pain because, you have to pay for your own flights to go to some small film festival and blah, blah, blah. On one hand, it's like, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like you do, I think you're saying this after you did 2 Iron Man movies and Avengers. So you do sound a little spoiled. And I understand it's like Marvel's paying for his hotels every time he goes to a film festival. But when he does an independent film, he's like, yeah, it's, you spend a year doing this independent movie and then 18 people see it at a film festival and then people forget about it. It's not as entertaining. It's not as rewarding in many ways. So
it's so hard to say because, it's like, well, what if would I take the job? Like, let's say I'm a mid-tier actor.
Right.
I'm making a career. I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do well enough to even get noticed to be in one of these movies, right?
Yeah.
But you're not
you're not an A-lister.
You're not making what you could make in a Marvel movie. Like, would you take? I think, of course, you would.
Yeah.
Just like financially.
Sure.
But would you just stay in it, and would you, or if you're already, I guess maybe the better, I guess that's an easy one, but maybe the better the better example would be you're already successful, right? Like you're Samuel L. Jackson. I'm going to read that. I'll read that next. Like, do you need to do all of these? Like, you're such a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
Like, can't you go do more interesting shit?
Yeah.
Like I have less sympathy for these actors who are, you know what it reminds me of in a way, it's not exact, but it reminds me of, do you follow soccer at all?
Not much. No.
Not much. Okay. So like the main soccer leagues, like private, not like national leagues. I mean, not like USA, but like the best leagues are the Premier League in England and Wales, La Liga in Spain, and the German league, right? Then the next tier would be like the French league, Italian league. They're all very good. Pretty much all European leagues are the best. I think Brazil is good. But those are like, that's like the MLB for baseball is the Premier League. You make big money, the most prestigious. So like a bunch of those players, so players all over the world go to play there, whether they're South American, African, European, Asian, whatever, they go there. That's the goal. But after, where do they go? To the MLS, because our league is known as like the retirement league, because you can make a lot of money because we're America. Guess where Messi just went? The Miami team. There's like a new team because, I mean, he's still amazing, but he's not 24. He's in his 30s. They just win a World Cup. But it's like, why not go get the bag, right? You're not at the top of your game. It's tough to play, you know, be 36 or whatever and play with 21-year-olds who are just a different human at that point. But it's like, it's where they're retired. Like, we get stars in the US, but it's always when they're way out of their prime.
Right.
That's to me what some of Marvel feels like. It feels like it's people who like they put on the cape, they say they're like they do their lives because it's so much CGI. Like even out of Anthony Hopkins' own mouth, it's in front of the green screen, and it's just like it's going through the motions, and because it's people going, oh shit, it's so and so, like that's cool. It's Anthony. It's I could be wrong here, but that's how it feels with a lot of these actors. Like why does Tom Cruise have to go do a DC movie?
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's I mean, you know, I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like because Marvel's backed by Disney, like, you know, that if you're a pretty decent sized star, I was like, oh sweet, well I can milk them for all this words. So, you know, because like the last movie I did, like, yeah, I made $5 million from that, but if I go to a Marvel movie, I know I can ask for $8 million.
I guess I don't know, man. I call me a fucking socialist, but it's like, don't you have enough money?
Yeah.
Like, don't you have enough? Don't like it. Seriously, again, not like the mid-tier actor gets the big break, and if that big breaks a DC or like Marvel, awesome. It's like, don't you want to go make something creative and artistic and like maybe tell a story of someone that you've always idolized, but maybe their story hasn't been told, or create something like, I don't know. Maybe that's like so easy to say, but these people have so much money.
I know. Well, here's the thing, man. So I saw this study from a few years ago, and it was like they interviewed a bunch of people from different salary brackets, and they asked them, how much money do you need to make? Would you need to make in order to be genuinely happy? And across the board, they almost always said, if I made just twice as much as I made now, I'd be happy. So they asked like low income people, if you made like 20 grand a year, if you made how much money would you need to make to be happy? And they're like, if I made 40 grand a year, I'd be happy. And they asked someone who made 100 grand a year, how much money would you need to make to be genuinely happy? 200 grand. They asked someone who made $1 million a year, if I made $2 million a year, I'd be So I think it's just like the more money you make, the more
I totally believe that. Well, yeah, because your lifestyle changes, right? You have to and again, you know, it doesn't have to. Like I think there are some actors or some like famous people who like give themselves a budget. Like I think Keira Knightley used to do that. Like, you live off a certain amount. I don't know if they actually stick to it, but like, but I totally get that. I believe that study because I remember I also read a study once that like they would go throughout Manhattan or like different. I don't know if it's Manhattan or all of New York City. And they would like leave a wallet or something on the ground. And it was like the vast majority of the neighborhoods would return the wallet with the money, except for like the Upper East Side, which is like per capita, the wealthiest neighborhood in New York City. Like they would keep it the most or something, keep the money the most. So it's like the people who need it the least take it the most. I don't know if that was necessarily true. It might have been biased, you know, to prove a point or something. But like, that always did stick with me.
Yeah,
And I do feel like that's similar. It's like, I don't know, but if it's not like you're gonna be a pauper or be in Marvel.
yeah,
It's like you're like Samuel L. Jackson. So let me read this part first,
yeah,
because this is what I'm getting at.
yeah.
In some ways, Marvel harks back to the old studio system in which Paramount and Warner Bros. Kept stables of stars under 7-year contracts, and MGM's freed unit cranked out movie musicals on an assembly line. Samuel L. Jackson, who plays the Marvel spy Nick Fury, signed a 9-picture deal with the company in 2009, and this summer will lead his own Disney Plus series, Secret Invasion. Is that a Marvel thing?
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me. The MCU roster includes seasoned icons. Oh, Robert Redford, Glenn Close, mid-career stars, Scarlett Johansson and Chris Pratt. Those are mid-career stars.
Yeah, I'm curious what they mean by mid-career. Like,
yeah, okay.
I'm
And
sure
breakout talents: Florence Pugh, Michael B. Jordan. And I do like those actors a lot. Like, I like all these actors. Like,
yeah.
It may be easier to count the conscientious objector who haven't gone. Oh, okay. It might be easier to count the conscientious objectors who haven't gone Marvel. Among them, Timothy Chalamet, love Chalamaniac, who has said that Leonardo DiCaprio once advised him, no hard drugs and no superhero movies. This was after Chalamet auditioned for Spider-Man. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll continue after, but that's like, so Samuel L. Jackson is a fantastic actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you need 9 movies?
No, but I think it's one of those things where it's like maybe the industry is so tough that any long-term deal is enticing.
I guess like for other people, yes. Like, okay, maybe Florence Pugh or Michael B. Jordan. Even them, I think, is a stretch. Like, they've been in huge movies even before Marvel. Like, I don't even know what Florence Pugh's in Marvel-wise. Michael B. Jordan, I know, is in Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like, he was in Apollo, right? That was before? I know that there have been subsequent since, but he's been in like major movies and also like really cool movies. Like, wasn't he in? He was in oh fuck, what was that movie that was like kind of based off of Akira? Oh god, I'm so annoyed right now.
Well, he did
like
that
one letter word, a one word title.
I know he did Fruitvale Station.
Oh, he did Fruitvale Station.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like that. I would understand a little more. Like, I still wish they wouldn't do that.
Right.
But like Samuel L. Jackson, like, of course, like, he can be like, so that's 9 movies and there's only so much time. Like, that's him not making other shit.
Yeah. I guess in Hollywood, I think it's like the vast majority of actors are not Daniel Day-Lewis. So I saw this interesting.
Daniel Day-Lewis is a Marvel movie. I'm gonna fucking burn something down.
I know. So I watched this. I read this interesting survey of I think it was like actors' movies that have like the highest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, and Daniel Day-Lewis was at the top because he's done so few movies because he's so choosy. And so I think like his weighted average was like 86%, which is really fucking high. Like, but because he's only done like 10 movies or 12 movies his entire life or something like that. Like, he does a movie like once every 6 years or something.
Not anymore, right? Didn't he retire?
That's right. Yeah. But my point is like the vast majority of actors in Hollywood are not Daniel Day-Lewis. Most of them are like, I don't care. If it pays well, I'll do it.
No, I totally get that. Like, people need to work. I really do understand that. But these examples, like I said, these aren't really like ancillary. Like, Michael B. Jordan isn't some like struggling actor,
right? Yeah. Neither
is Florence Pugh. She was in Midsummer.
Yep.
She was in like good movie. I guess maybe they're not the most. I don't know. Maybe I could see maybe they're not the most like lucrative movies. Like, but I like her. Like, I saw her in this movie, The Watcher. I think was it The Watcher?
No,
maybe it wasn't that. She played it was very cool, but I could see how it's not the most lucrative deal. So why you would go into it, especially at their age, Scarlett Johansson, like she was voted the most beautiful woman on the planet or whatever. Like I'm sure she can find work.
Right.
And then how many Marvel movies has she been in?
I don't know, probably like 10 or something.
Really? I didn't even think it was that much. She's been 10 Marvel movies.
She was in Iron Man 3. She was in
Who was
all
she?
4
Black
Avengers
Widow?
movies. So that's 5. She was in Black Widow. So that's 6.
Yeah.
So okay, I think that's 6. My
Okay. I would have said, I would have said like 4 or 5, guessing. But
well, I there's this romantic notion that I have, and then I'm sure you probably have as well, where it's like it never got to a point where like I was super successful and like I could do anything I wanted. Part of me is like, like I want to take a break from the big lucrative stuff. I want to do something smaller and more intimate, more me. But at the same time, it's just like, again, kind of getting back to that thing where it's like the more money you have, the more you want. But like, so I actually did read an interview with Tom Holland, who plays the MCU Spider-Man, and he seems to be souring a little bit with the role of Spider-Man. Like he didn't come right out and say, I don't want to do superhero movies anymore. But he did say something along the lines. Somebody asked him in an interview, "Oh, so how do you feel about like your future as Spider-Man?" He goes, "Well, I'm not sure. Like I'm not opposed to someone else. Sort of passing the baton on to someone else. And
cool.
So superhero movies are great. They're a lot of fun. But at the same time, I definitely want to try some other things." And I'm glad that he's a young actor and he's still sort of like, I want to do drama, I want to do thriller, I want to do other things. So that gives me a little hope. But at the same time,
I like to hear that. But then he's just gonna go do like black box theater and some like East LA somewhere where you live, like some small black box theater in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so interesting though, where like it does kind of bother me how little artistry there is, like even among really talented actors. But I think for many of them, it's like in the back of their minds, they're like, I want to do something that's a little more artistic, a little more, maybe experimental. But like maybe like 90% of you get to a point where it's like most of the offers that you're given are lucrative, big budget things. So for example, a while back, Jack Nicholson, I think it was when he won his 3rd Oscar. I don't know. It was right around the time I think that he'd won some major award or he'd done a movie that was very successful. Somebody asked him in an interview, so you're one of the most successful actors of all time. What project do you want to do that you haven't done yet? And he goes, I would love to direct a short film, but I can't. I just haven't really sat down to like come up with like a short. I'm so used to feature length films where you have 90 minutes to play with to explore, but doing something in like 5-10 minutes like that, I would love to do it, but I just haven't done it.
Yeah, really, okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the only one where it's like, I would love to do like a small, interesting, experimental or sort of outside the box thing, but I haven't done it yet. I'm just too busy doing big roles. So.
And I do want to say, I want to clarify something though. Yeah. That's great. And I think the more variety, the better. But I'm not just saying that like all these actors should be doing like cerebral, dramatic works of like small scale, like Timothy Chalamet. I mean, he's Paul Atreides, in Dune. Like that's a big blockbuster thing. That's awesome. That's just like more variety in big sci-fi blockbuster. Like that's what I'm talking about too. This is getting outside the MCU where he could be Paul Atreides probably for 3 movies. Maybe. I guess there's lots of Dune books. I don't know how many he's gonna do, but he also just did Bones and All. He did obviously Call Me by Your Name. That's before that.
Did you look up in the sky or whatever, or Don't Look Up, or
Don't Look Up. Yep, he did. He was a side character in that. But yes, he did Don't Look Up. He did lots of cool, he does lots of cool things that vary. And I think that's also what I'm saying. I don't just think every actor should go do dramatic pieces for small coastal elite audiences. That's not what I'm saying at all. Just more variety, because here let's move on. Well, one thing I want to say, has Jack Nicholson, has he directed?
He did the Two Jakes, which was like what I heard was a really bad sequel to Chinatown.
I didn't even know.
It was in the early 90s. It was a sequel to that, but
is he in it too?
Yeah, he's in it too. He reprises the character Jack Gittes or whatever.
Can I say something? I'm going to, because I'm one half of this podcast. Is that
no, you cannot say anything.
I always feel weird when an actor is also directing. in the same movie.
Yeah.
Like maybe if it's like a Tarantino is doing like he's sucking on someone's show for a scene, and he's directing like that's one thing.
Yeah.
But like, do you not like? I always feel like if wait, you're directing, but I'm looking at you right now. Who's directing? Like I know that might seem so like Philistine, but it always strikes me as odd. It's like no, you're not directing. You're acting, or not. Like I don't know. Is that dumb?
No, it is a weird thing, but there have been a handful of times when I think an actor was nominated for best for best acting that they also directed, which is actually kind of kind of interesting. We're like, whoa, you actually know how to direct yourself in an award nominated work. I think Robert Redford. I think.
Like, what are examples of that? Because I feel like it's rare.
It's extremely rare, but I think Robert Redford nominated himself or directed himself in an Oscar nominated performance. I think.
Okay.
Was it?
Because I can't think of any off the top of my head, and I know a lot. Well, at least I think I know a lot of like Oscar history, and I might be missing some big ones, but I can't think of any off the top of my head where the actor is nominated for directing or vice versa in the same movie. Not
Robert Redford, Warren Beatty. I get those those guys mixed up. Warren Beatty was nominated, so he was in the movie, and he was nominated for Best Picture. He also produced the film, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Best Director, and Best Writing. So yeah, 4 nominations for one movie.
What movie was it?
It was Reds from 1981.
Reds. Okay. Wait, Warren Beatty wasn't an Easy Rider.
No,
that's Fonda and
Peter Fonda, yeah, or Henry Fonda. I get the Fondas mixed up.
Yeah, and wait, but who was the other guy?
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper did he not direct Easy
I think
Rider?
He did actually. Dennis Hopper did direct.
I think he directed Easy Rider. But he was he nominated?
The movie was nominated for Best Original Screenplay.
Right. Anyway, so that's kind of a side note. That always I'm always a little skeptical when a movie is like starring the director. Basically,
I think what's his face? Mel Brooks is a good exception to that, though. He's because he is really talented. Like he came out of like that sort of vaudeville thing.
Yeah, but what is he acted in that was so good that he directed? I know he's directed fantastic movies.
Yeah, well, he was in he's been in most of his own movies. I think. Like I know he was in Blazing Saddles.
Who is he in Blazing Saddles?
I think he played the mayor of the town. I think it's been forever since I've seen it.
Yeah,
he was in but I know he was in Spaceballs, but I think most of the time he just plays a supporting character. I don't think
that's what I mean. Like a supporting character cameo. Like, look, if I was a director, I'd probably do that too.
Yeah,
I'd probably be in like one scene in every movie.
Yeah,
I'm vain in that way. I'm vain in that way. Yeah, M. Shyamalan. He was just in. His new movie was actually pretty good.
Which one was it?
Knock at the Cabin.
Oh, I heard decent things about that one.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was cool. And he's definitely, I feel like he's on TV in a scene. Maybe he's like a news anchor. Can't remember exactly, but anyway. So move on to not to belabor this point, but about like it sucking up the actors. So comic book films have attracted top stars as far back as Superman, Marlon Brando, 1978, which I didn't know that till I read this article, and I love Marlon Brando. And Batman, Jack Nicholson, 1989. But the MCU by design can tie up an actor for years. Benedict Cumberbatch went from playing Hamlet to invoking the grand calculus of the multiverse, unquote, as Doctor Strange. Portraying a Marvel character often means not just headlining movies, but also filming cameos and crossovers, to the point that even the actor gets confused. Gwyneth Paltrow, who plays Iron Man's paramour, Pepper Potts, had no idea that she appeared in Spider-Man Homecoming until the Marvel director Jon Favreau mentioned it to her on his cooking show.
Yeah, did you ever see that? It went viral a while back.
I did not see that. No,
they're cooking together. He goes, "Oh, remember that time we were in Spider-Man?" She goes, "We weren't in Spider-Man. We've only done Iron Man and Avengers movie." And he goes, "No, we were in Spider-Man." She goes, "Which movie? Which Spider-Man was it?" And it's like she was genuinely confused.
That's so telling of just like Okay.
Yeah,
So it can be dispiriting to see so much acting talent sucked into the quantum realm of the MCU, presumably for a tidy sum, but the paychecks alone don't explain Marvel's holdover stars. At some point, you want to be relevant, an agent who represents MCU actors said. Success is the best drug. This year, Angela Bassett became the first actor to be nominated for an Oscar for a Marvel role in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Yada yada. It goes into that goes into the Anthony Hopkins line. I read this next part about kind of what actors do after Marvel, and usually has not been very successful. I think part of it too, I mean, call me old fashioned, but after you've done Marvel, you've obviously made money for generations, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe that's exaggeration, but like you don't have that hunger in you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think? I don't know. Acting is still a profession. It's still a job, and if you don't have the incentive to put out the best product, and you're just going to get paid because it's the next Robert Downey Jr. movie or the next Chris Evans movie, and people are going to go, oh, look, it's Captain America in this movie. I'm going to go see it. Maybe you don't put the best performance out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to say that. That can be probably pretty offensive to some people, but I think that's also like human nature. Like you don't have that drive anymore because you're not the starving actor. Right, obviously, right. I don't mean literally all the time, but still, like you don't have that dog in you anymore.
Yeah.
Marvel has similarly gobbled up screenwriters, special effects artists, and workers from nearly every other profession in Hollywood, including directors, who are often snatched from other genres. Taika Waititi made the vampire mockumentary What We Do in the Shadows before getting placed in charge of Thor. Chloe Zhao went from moody, micro-budget westerns to Marvel's moody, macro-budget Eternals. Career paths that once led to Oscars now lead inexorably to the some assembly required world building of the MCU. An agent who works with screenwriters complained, I worry for the film industry because if you're Chloe Zhao and you want to tell a story on a big canvas, mostly you're limited to trying to tell it on a canvas of a big superhero. He added, it's a pair of golden handcuffs, which is actually a pretty good term.
Yeah.
Any comments on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty accurate assessment of what's going on in the industry right now. It is frustrating. And I want to pose a question, and we don't have to answer it right now. We can if we want to talk a little more about this, but I do want to talk a little bit about what we think the future holds for the film industry. Like, will this collapse? And will something better replace it? The sort of MCU model, and would that will that lead to like a sort of renaissance like we saw in the 70s of like, oh cool, like now here's some original films that are actually doing well at the box office that are not based on 4-color superheroes.
Okay, so no, I don't think this will collapse. I think because it's still like grossly profitable.
Yes.
Right. And that's in the end, this is a business.
Yeah.
I think in the 70s, we saw that renaissance because it was like kind of tackling new material. There were different like free speech was changing.
Yeah.
There was a different like people growing up, born in like, let's say the 50s, 40s or 50s, then growing up in the tumultuous 60s, were then, at the age to be making movies and had the influence in the 70s that made these really interesting and cool movies.
Yeah.
And told really interesting stories that just wouldn't fly in the 50s.
That were also I mean, like if a Taxi Driver was profitable, it was a hit movie when it came out. Taxi Driver, if it were released today, I don't think it would be very successful today.
No, I don't think so either. I think, but we have to define terms like what's successful. Are we like critically or like box office, like money?
Box office more because I mean, like plenty of non-Marvel movies get plenty of acclaim, but they don't often make a whole lot of money. But every once in a while, you'll see a movie like Crazy Multiversal Asians, and then like Top Gun. Where it's like, oh, this is this is
multiversal. Did you make that up, or is that a thing?
I'm pretty sure I said it on a previous episode.
Okay, that's really good. Crazy multiversal. That's the title of this episode, by the way.
Okay, cool.
So I think, but to be honest, that's the I think sometimes accurate critique of critics, for lack of a better term, of like the industry is that movies that no one fucking sees are up for the biggest awards in the industry.
Yes.
Like I saw almost, I think, every Oscar nominated movie last year for Best Picture and most of the other categories. Maybe I missed one or two. Like no one fucking saw Dear whatever that one, like the one with the drug addict mom in Oklahoma or Texas or whatever that was. Like very few people probably saw After Sun as like in like a general audience. Like I saw that in kind of like an independent theater in the East Village, right? Like that's not being but people do go and see these movies. And if I didn't say, like I've seen a handful of them and like I like them. Like they're fine. Like I think they're good. They're not. I don't think they're bad. Maybe it may be I've heard some of the newer ones may have gotten stale. I've seen Civil War. I've seen Black Panther. I've seen. I mean, I loved Spider-Man growing up, but that wasn't the MCU like it is now. I saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. I saw Iron Man. Like, so it's not like I haven't seen any of them. Right. They just don't hook me where I need to like be a part of the universe. Where like my brother, I think, I've seen every single one. And he got into them like one summer and watched like every single one that was out there. It's like a few years ago. So wait, your question was, will it? I think we're seeing the opposite. I think people are, or not people, studios, other IPs are copying the model. Star Wars has been doing it. I mean, it used to be an event when like a new Star Wars movie came out. Like, even though they stunk, the prequels were an event. Right. Like I remember being so excited to go see was it the Sith? What was it? Episode 3. Revenge of the Sith?
Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah, like so excited to go see it because it was like, oh, the new one on come out in a few years or whatever. And now and there were no shows really. Maybe an animated show or something, but now it's nonstop. I can't even keep track. I don't even know I see something come out like Moon Knight. Is that Star Wars? Or is that Marvel?
It's Marvel,
Yeah, like I have no fucking idea. Like I
and it says because they even had they have Oscar Isaac, who I like, who I think is a talented actor. He's in the lead role, but it's sort of like
Oscar Isaac's awesome. Like he's a great actor. I don't want him doing fucking Moon Knight. I want him doing another Inside Llewellyn Davis or something like that. Some cool movie like that. But I get it. I don't know. But I'm glad you brought him up. Perfect example. He did 3 fucking Star Wars movies.
That's right.
He made tons of money. Why does he have to do a Moon Knight? Like why does he have to go do a streaming Star Wars show? Instead of doing another cool movie? Like I don't know. It's your own life. But like for the good of art and cinema, like he's like a sex symbol. He's a great actor. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think I don't buy the excuse. Like it's hard to work for him, for someone like him.
Right.
He's a ridiculously good looking minority talented actor. He's wanted in the field.
You're right.
Like, I don't know. And, so my fiance works with some A-list celebrities, right, in theater, and I think it's really cool. And here's a great example of one. Like Daniel Radcliffe took the same amount of money as everyone else on the cast to do an off-Broadway show. Like he got paid the same to go do a cool piece of art, to go do a show that bombed in the 80s. It was a Sondheim show that bombed in the 80s that he wanted to be part of that was on in other cities, came to New York, went off Broadway, and he got paid the same as everyone else. Because he did 9 Harry Potter movies or something. He doesn't need the money. I respect that so much.
Oh, of course,
And I wish other actors did that. And some might, but again, not these ones.
And I totally agree with you, but I think it's just the luster of Marvel movies, take my career to the next level. I'll play some, I have to wear a cape. Sure, it's dumb, but it pays twice as much as the amount of money that I've made in my entire career over the last 10 years. It's just too enticing.
I know.
And look, I try to be as fair as I can. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was great as Doctor Strange. I'll never say that it was like, like one of the great performances of all time. But it's like, okay, like there's a clear arc there. He's talented but arrogant, and then he has to become humbled, and at the end of it, he's like, okay, all right, he becomes a hero, whatever. But it's like I can see that as an actor being like, okay, this is a step down in terms of quality, but there's an arc. There's something for me to do as an actor. There's some drama involved. Okay, this is pretty cool. It's not too bad.
Joe, you're killing cinema.
But for example, Paul Rudd, where it's like he basically plays exactly the same character that he's played in all,
he plays Paul Rudd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we love Paul Rudd. We love Paul Rudd. Like,
yeah, no, I like him. But who's that director who does like Knocked Up and Judd Apatow?
Judd Apatow, yeah.
But it's sort of like, it was fun doing Judd Apatow movies, but I get to play a Judd Apatow character, but I get paid 10 times more. It's kind of hard to pass up.
I know that. I know, Joe, but for cinema, like
I'm in complete agreement with you. I would love to see Chris Evans be like, yeah, this is, it was cool playing Captain America, but I want to do this indie drama, and like I said, it doesn't have to be drama. It could be like, oh, I want to do like a silly romantic comedy.
Yeah,
whatever. I'm working on this movie just because I love the director and they've made great movies. I want to work with them. But it's Hollywood. It's
I know. I just think there's a point where it's because I'm not. This could sound so like pretentious, but I really do feel like if I was in one of these positions, I'm not saying I wouldn't take the bag at some point, but like 9 movies, like after you make it, do you not have enough fucking money? I feel like my artistic career would like there's a worth to that. Like there's a like I don't know, like does that not matter anymore to people?
I don't think it does. And I'm not happy about it. I know. I'm not happy about saying that. I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible. Yeah. So the Samuel L. Jackson 9-picture deal thing, kind of a funny story behind that. So originally Nick Fury was white in the comics. But in the early 2000s, Marvel Comics did this sort of, they kind of rebooted a whole bunch of their existing characters. And they said, oh, like we're going to keep our legacy characters, but we're going to set aside like a new sort of separate universe. And we're going to allow our writers, these new writers, to do whatever the fuck they want with these characters. They can change the race, they can change the gender. And luckily it was not woke. This is early 2000s. So it's sort of like, do whatever the fuck you want. You could take a character who was originally a hero and make them a villain. You do whatever you want. And so somebody said, for this new iteration of the Avengers, this is the Avengers of Bush's America. They're much more like, and even though it was a cool, fun comic, it was also kind of like a critique of like that sort of like it was also kind of Team America, where it's like we're also kind of making fun of the military industrial complex. But they're like, oh, so like if there was a Nick Fury today in modern day 2002 or whatever, who would that be? And they're like, oh, well, he probably. Who's the person right now who best represents Nick Fury? Like, oh, Colin Powell, who's black. And so, okay, so yeah, let's why not? Let's make him black. 21st century, Nick Fury. I'm like, okay, but who's a really cool person? I'm like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson. So they got. They based the new Nick Fury on Samuel L. Jackson, but they didn't get his permission. He could have technically sued them for stealing his likeness. But then years later, the comic book writer who came up with the idea of basing the new Nick Fury on Samuel L. Jackson, he met him on the set of what was that James Bond sort of parody, the Kingsman. Is
that a parody of James Bond?
Yeah, basically, it was based on a comic book that was kind of making fun of the James Bond thing.
The Kingsman, I think that was it.
Yeah. But anyways, Samuel L. Jackson played the main villain in that movie, and so like 10 years after Samuel L. Jackson had been playing Nick Fury, the comic book writer was on the same set as Samuel L. Jackson, and he went up to him and he goes, "Hey, I'm sorry for stealing your likeness for Nick Fury without your permission." Yeah. And then Nick Fury was like, "Motherfucker, you got me a 9-picture deal." Like,
Samuel L. Jackson, yeah.
But he's like, yeah, he was glad that my like sort of like semi-illegal thing led to him getting a multi-picture deal with a huge studio.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be harsh on Samuel L. Jackson. Now I think about it. I mean, that's 2009, and he did do Django after that.
Yeah.
He did do The Hateful Eight.
Yep.
I mean, maybe those are all those Tarantino movies. I don't think he was in Was he in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Did he have a
I don't think
cameo or
so.
something? I don't know. So I guess he did do those. And those were
He was
really
in
great.
Glorious Bastards in a voiceover cameo.
Okay, that was right around that time. Yeah, that was like
Around,
2009.
Yeah.
I'm not picking on Samuel L. Jackson. I just I'd like to see him in other shit because he's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
Like,
but here's the thing: I wonder if he's done like I'm gonna pull up his IMDb because it's like, has he been in multiple movies outside of MCU that we just haven't heard about because the MCU is so
Let's
fucking
see.
big?
Let's see.
Samuel L. Jackson. And like you, like I think he's a great actor. Like I think he's a kick-ass guy. Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff. Well, he was in the Hitman's Wife's. He was in the Hitman's Bodyguard.
No, yeah,
Which is turning into a little thing. He's done a bunch of stuff. But again, we don't hear about this because the MCU takes.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't. All right. Well, let's wrap up.
He came back as Glass for M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm good to wrap this up because
I
think we hit all the main parts to it. To answer your question, finally, I don't know. I think it's going the other direction. I think more big IPs are just trying to copy, carve up because there are like Marvel fans, there are DC fans, carve it up as possible. Yeah. To me, like I'm sure it's obviously worked more than it hasn't. Like it's very profitable. But like I'm someone who does love Star Wars. I do love Lord of the Rings. I'm not watching this shit. I'm just not. I don't. Yeah. It's too much. I like to watch too many other things. Like I've seen like every Star Wars movie. I'm not watching any series really. I know. Like I'm a Mandalorian, which I heard is amazing. Maybe I will eventually. Yeah. But like I can't do it. Like I'll see every Lord of the Rings. Saw The Hobbit. I didn't see the rest of them because they're kind of trash. But I don't need it more. Like I don't need all these spinoffs and all these other shows. But
I know, yeah. The spinoff thing is crazy because I mean, it's like, okay, so we got The Lion King, we got like a live action remake of The Lion King, and now, and like, I guess it did well enough at the box office, but it, like from what I saw, like it got mediocre reviews from critics. But they're doing a Mufasa origin story.
Are they really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I don't know, man. It's like
every
character need their own spin-off, their own franchise.
No, but it makes money. That's what I mean. But that's what it's all about. It's all about the IPs. It's but fine. We'll see. I mean, this is obvious. We've been talking about this since we started the show, and we're going to be coming back to it. But I don't like where it's headed. There has some. We didn't get into it. There is some. What's the word? Like there's not backlash to the MCU at all, but like I think some fans like yourself are a little like, all right, we know the formula. It's getting a little like they try to do too much. Yeah, maybe just come like make a few like make it more of an event.
Exactly. Like I don't know. 2 movies a year was their formula, and they even said like, yeah, we're only doing 2 movies a year, and now they're doing 3 movies a year plus multiple TV shows and other things. And it's sort of like, okay, now this is just turning into a regular like sitcom thing. Okay, every year we got a whole bunch of things. Every year we got a whole bunch of things.
Like also like Maude after Golden Girl, like all these shows are coming out, and and there's the one from Happy Days.
Oh, Chachi is the Joni Loves Chachi.
Yeah, Joni Loves Chachi is that? Yeah, Joni Loves Chachi and a bunch of others, but spin-off crazy. This is a different thing. Like the whole cinematic. I'm so tired of multiverses. And this is someone who I love Rick and Morty, but it's comedy and it's funny. Like when they just go find it. Like this is not. I'm done with it. Like I'm done with multiverse. I'm done with like the really meta shit too. We won't talk about it today. We'll save it for when we do our next horror episode, probably next month. But like the meta-ness of Scream, the self-referential. Like it's been 2 movies in a row. I just wrote my review. I haven't published it yet for the newest Scream. We can talk about that, but I'm kind of done with this like self-aware multiverse. I know those aren't the same thing, but I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah. But I'm somewhat optimistic. When even fans like myself are kind of going like, okay, this is getting enough. Like, it might not happen in the near future, but I think that the bubble will pop. And seeing other people fail at doing the MCU thing, because I mean, like DC when they tried to follow the Marvel formula, it's been very mixed at best, and now they're trying to do it again. It's like, okay, they might do it better this time, but it's like you're not going to beat Marvel. But now the fact that Marvel, like the original, like the OG, shared cinematic universe, like even that now their films are not doing as well as before, and people and like the viewership of their shows is not doing as well. I'm like, at some point this has to fail, and this has to be like, okay, audiences are gonna be like, okay, I just want like an interesting movie / TV show. I don't really care about capes as much as I did.
I know, man. I agree.
So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Well, that's good. I'm not as much, but we'll revisit that.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting thing. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to save the other article for next episode?
Yeah, let's just do that. Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Marvel episode. What episode number was this?
83.
83.
That's a good year.
83 was a good year.
83, yeah.
Big
You
year.
had Metallica come out with their debut album.
Did they?
Yeah,
Oh,
Kill 'Em All.
That's a big. I know that's a big sports year. Or maybe it was 84. Anyway.
84. Should we do something for 1984?
We could do something for 1984. Oh shit! Yeah, like it's in the episode. Yeah, we could do that.
No.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be yeah.
All right,
everybody. Stay reckless.
Stay reckless,
Fight
Joseph.
the crits.
Jose.
YouTube Benjamin.
Fight the crits.